So as I promised before, I want to do a video on masculine versus feminine energy. I actually talked about this once on a live stream I did like a year and a half ago, or like it was about a year ago. I was playing Pokemon Fire Red, I think it was, and I talked about this, and I was gonna do a speak them on it back then, but it just wasn't the right time. But I wanted to retouch on that topic here. So what do I mean by masculine and feminine energy? Does this have to do with dating? And it does. It does have to do with relationships, but it has to do with who we are as people. So, masculine and feminine energy is a very real thing, obviously. But I'm going to explain what it is. Because what I said on that Twitch stream was I was talking about relationships and I was talking about how attraction works between us as human beings. Male, female, and that includes, by the way, if you're trans, if you're bisexual, gay, it doesn't matter because masculine and feminine energy applies to every human being. You could be the manliest man on earth. You've got a little bit of feminine energy inside of you. It might not be a lot, but you've got some. You could be a very girly girl, and you've got to have some masculine energy. And if not, you will develop it because life will throw things at you to give you masculine energy. So what is the difference? Okay, let's talk about it. First of all, feminine energy. This is energy that's very much... and this, by the way, applies usually to mammals, but we're going to go with humans here, okay? And once again, it doesn't matter if you're trans, you have it, everybody has it. The idea is how much do you have and how much do you want? But everyone changes throughout life, so it goes back and forth. So anyways, so feminine energy. Feminine energy is nurturing energy. It is the energy of giving birth and nurturing life, like how women do, how they get pregnant, they give birth. Feminine energy is all about receiving love, giving and receiving love. It's all about, mostly receiving. It's all about being close to another. It's all about being, united together in a strong emotional bond, in a strong physical bond. Now, that does not mean that men don't bond. I'm going to get to that when I get to masculine energy. It's a different kind of bonding. Feminine energy is all about like really the power of love. And again, that does not mean that men don't love. Just give me a minute, I'll get there, okay? Because people are going to jump to conclusions, and I'll explain. Feminine energy is being spontaneous, being artistic. That's feminine energy, right? And once again, women tend to have typically more feminine energy than men do. That's obvious. That's why it's called feminine energy. It's a trait. And that's just the way that they're kind of hardwired to be. It's just how they are. Most of the time. Again, there's always outliers. We're talking about most of the time. And feminine energy, typically what I've noticed is that men who are very masculine tend to attract women that are very feminine. But you'll also notice it a lot when you see gay couples. I've noticed in my time on Earth that even when you look at a gay couple, whether it be gay or lesbian, doesn't matter. Usually one of the two is a little bit more feminine. Not a butch or anything like that, but the opposite, whatever that is. I don't even know these terms. But I'll notice that one partner is more masculine than the other. And vice versa. Or sometimes what they'll do is they'll have one be more feminine on one day and then they'll have one be more masculine on the other. And then there's also those that are gender nonconformist, non-binary, which don't really go either way, but they have traits of both. You can't escape it. You have to have a little bit of both. You have to. Even if you're non-binary. You can't have none, right? Because the energy is there. Now, masculine energy is about purpose. It's about drive. It's about, getting yourself together, financially, business-wise, getting goals done, getting goals accomplished. Feminine energy is really mostly about social acceptance, whereas masculine energy is kind of the opposite, and that's more about self-reflection and sort of financial and headstrong leadership. And that's why when you often see women in the business environment, like in enterprise environments and things like that, corporate environments, they're dressed in suits, kind of like men. They're not dressed girly, not all the time. Some are, some aren't. But a lot of times, because when you dress like that, it gives off a point of leadership and it gives off masculine energy. Now, these women might end up being super feminine at home with their husbands. They probably are. But when they're at work, it's go time. And there's a lot of women out there who they have babies, they're very feminine mothers, they're girly as hell, but when the time comes, when your shift begins, it's time to grind. Same thing with men. There's men out there who grind and work hard and do all these things, but when it comes to taking care of a baby, it's coochie coochie coo. See what I'm saying? We all have masculine and feminine energy, but I've noticed when it comes to attraction that people who are more masculine tend to attract more feminine people. That's just kind of been my thing, but not always. Once again, it's there's always outliers, right? And most of the time when a man is very masculine, when he's really in his core, when he's really about achieving his goals, his purposes in life, bringing home the bacon, as they say, putting his family, not just her, his family, his own parents, his children, in the best possible position they could live in, the best living conditions possible, the nicest house, the best cars, the best health care, right? He sometimes needs a very feminine woman to kind of bring him down. That's why, like, in my history of my life, I've had very feminine girlfriends that have a lot of masculine energy because I need a woman who's going to be very nurturing for me. And it goes all the way back to my mother. My mom was very nurturing. She was a stay-at-home mom. And, I need that woman to kind of calm me down and bring me back down to reality. When I start, going off on these tangents where I'm really focused on this and I start showing a lot of passion for my drive in life, they usually are the ones to kind of bring me down and pat me on the head and rub my head and rub my shoulders and my arms and, really make me feel like a man. It's a very beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful feeling, right? And it's the other way around as well. Like, if you got a girl, a lot of times a girl will have a bad day at work. And guys have it too. And she'll come home and she'll be crying. She'll be in tears, dude. And if you're a fucking man, what you'll do is you will blend the feminine energy into your masculine core. What do I mean by that? Well, you'll be there and you'll be a good listener. You'll listen to what she has to say, and you'll be that man to kind of grab her by the hands or give her a hug, give her a kiss, and say, it's going to be all right, baby. Like, it's going to be okay. I'm here to listen to you. Tell me what's wrong, and then just listen to her. You don't have to give your advice yet. Just listen, and then you can say, do you want me to give you advice, or do you just want me to listen? Because sometimes they just want you to listen. Women are very emotional. Feminine energy breeds emotion, so they're going to vent their frustrations out to you, and they just want you to listen. Whereas men are problem solvers. One of the biggest mistakes that men do is try to solve all of women's problems for them. Sometimes you have to do it. And sometimes it can be a very attractive thing. Women who are very feminine love men who can fix things or who can get things done. They like guys that, you don't have to be a mechanic, but guys who, if there's a problem, you at least know how to call a mechanic and get the right guy out there and get it done, take care of it, boom, it's done. Problem solving. It's very attractive to a woman. At the same time, though, not when they're venting and being emotional. At that point, you gotta listen is the most important thing. Right? And I say men and women because it could also be gay couples. Again, I'm just kind of using this as a more masculine, feminine. It's just an easier way to explain it. Because we're going to go with tradition more so than just a simplified version of everything. I'm not going to sit here and every time I give an example say, well, if you're gay, it's this, where I'm getting at by now. Because everyone has masculine and feminine energy. Just like if you're a guy out there, right? Let's go with a guy. And you're a manly ass dude. But let's say you lose your mom. Let's say your mom passes away. You're going to crumple up into a little piece of shit. And you should, because you're a human. You're going to be crying every day. You're going to be very emotional, and rightfully so, because you just lost your mother. And if you have a good girlfriend, she will then raise her feminine energy and be very nurturing to you at the same time. If you have to be at home for a few days, she may have to be the one to go out and work a couple extra hours, and thus she'll tap into her masculine core. See what I'm talking about? Is that making sense to you now? So, I think far too often, too many guys worry about being too feminine when you shouldn't have to worry about that, because if you're a masculine guy, you can show off your masculine traits by just being masculine, just being focused and getting shit done. And there's a time and place to be feminine, right? There's a time and place for it. The problem is that we have a lot of guys nowadays, and this is a whole other video, who show too much femininity and they turn a woman off, especially in the early stages of dating, right? They'll act too needy, too clingy. Being needy and clingy is a feminine trait. Masculinity is about going out there and getting shit done for yourself and for your family. Femininity is more so like, okay, I'm going to be right beside you. I'm going to be there for you when you fall. That's how it works. But when you're in a relationship, you both have to show both those traits sometimes. It depends on the dynamics of your relationship, because every relationship is different, right? In some cases, even though you're a man, you might be a stay-at-home husband and your wife might be the one that goes out to work. I know some guys have a real problem with that, but sometimes that's just how it is. Now, if she comes home and she's still attracted to you and you guys have great sex and you're the man, and she likes masculine men, she's not going to want to leave you. Not if you love her, not if you show that you care. And showing that you care does not mean buying her a bunch of gifts and being a simp. Showing her that you care means listening, being attentive, being attuned to her emotions. And even if you don't understand her emotions, at least being there for her. To pick her up and be her prince. Be her fucking king. That's the energy. And she's going to be your queen. And sometimes she has to act like a king. If you're down and out. Sometimes you have to be a queen. And I mean that, you get where I'm coming from, right? Like, it's all about balance. And I think that if more people knew how this worked, this dichotomy, I think that relationships would last longer. I think that attraction for another person would last longer as well. I think people would stay together more, because then you kind of have those boundaries set, and like, you're not going to be such a pussyfoot that you're going to act feminine all the time, but you're not going to be so stuck up that you want to pretend like you're a man all the time, like you're masculine all the time. Like, no, like, there's a balance to everything in life. I say that for me, and I'm only speaking for me. I'm masculine about 90% of the time, but I've got that 10% feminine side that I will use when necessary, that I will tap into when necessary, because it's there. And years ago, it was the other way around. I would be more feminine than masculine because, I had issues, and, a lot of guys end up listening to the wrong people when it comes to relationships and how to live life, and they end up going the wrong way. Be careful with movies, be real careful with it. Masculine energy is all about purpose, drive, motivation. It's all about becoming the best you can be for your family and friends, and feminine energy is about receiving and giving love. And as people, we have to do all these things to have a truly balanced life. I hope this provided some food for thought. I'll talk to you in the next one.